1045 The Team, your home for New York sports in the college football world. Absolutely insane right now. So we're reaching out to our good buddy Bill Bender from the Sporting News. Bill, there is a rumor that you are now the Tennessee Volunteer head coach.
I mean, like I was telling you guys before I came on, this has been that in itself has been the wildest coaching search ever. I really do believe that. I can remember instances like Mike Price or George O'Leary or Michigan in 07 with Les Miles, but this one is light years past that.
So what is the latest? Like yesterday, there was like 3 apparent head coaches.
You know, I've told people this. Jason Witten had to deny being a candidate, and he has a game tonight. That's where this is. I mean, sounds like there's a bidding war for Dave Doran and between NC State and Tennessee. That's what stage we're on, where this began with the ceiling of John Gruden, and now it comes down to Dave Doran. And he could take that job and do well and try to do well at Tennessee. But to me, and I don't know if you guys agree with this or not, Dave Doran doesn't feel that much different than Butch Jones to me.
No, he's about the same. And you brought up John Gruden, by the way. John Gruden, what happened? Did he say no? Did they just not want to offer him the money?
Well, he never. I think where they went wrong, among the many things they went wrong here, I think it started there. Like getting John Gruden either to say, I'm not interested, or Tennessee AD John Curry just saying we are not pursuing John Gruden. That way, because that's the ceiling, right? And I keep comparing this back to Michigan in 07 because once Les Miles was off the table, that turned into a disaster that ended up with Rich Rod. And then the program was kind of down for 3 years, maybe 7 years after that, till they got Harbaugh. So I just see the same kind of movie unfolding here, where no matter who they get, it's not going to be what they wanted. And I think the Greg Schiano blowback, okay, I get that they didn't want Schiano, but I think the blowback from that hurt more than it helped too.
Absolutely agree with you about that. And now the other move that's been rumored, Florida State football coach Jimbo Fisher is being persuaded maybe to join Texas A&M because they're throwing a ton of money at him. Where do you see this ending up? Will Jimbo Fisher be the head coach of the Aggies?
Well, he has 2 choices here, and if he takes it, I wouldn't be surprised. I think this is a case where a fresh start might be needed for him. He's been at Florida State for 11 years. There's always something nagging on the program. You had a guy calling out his loyalty last night on the the call-in show, and I think that's ridiculous. And Texas A&M will appreciate him. And on the other side, at Florida State, maybe it's time for a new coach. When you operate on a national championship or bust level, maybe they need a fresh set of eyes on the program, because I got in an argument with a guy about this last night. One of my friends, I said, Clemson's the dominant program in the ACC right now. And I think there is not a huge gap, but there's a gap between Clemson and Florida State.
We got Bill Bender with us right now from the Sporting News, our college football insider on 1045 The Team. So the coaching carousel crazier than ever. Any other moves that you're looking at that could happen, or is it time to talk rankings?
We could probably talk about the rankings now. I've kind of been like 50-50 this week. It's been coaching carousel, and then, we have a couple important games this weekend that are going to determine who's going to go to the college football playoff. Let's talk about those.
Do you have any issues with the top 4 as it sits right now?
No. Auburn, I think, is the hottest team in the country right now. I think Clemson's got a resume to the point where if they lose, it's still a conversation. Oklahoma's playing, I think those 3 teams, it's safe to say they're in with a win. And I would say the same about Wisconsin, but that's where we get a little iffy, because Ohio State's favored to beat them, and we have to have some creative discussions if that happens.
Yeah, so outside of the top 4 right now, you mentioned Ohio State. Are they the most likely team to jump back into the top 4?
I still think it's either them or Alabama. And, this is an emotional sport. I've been saying this all week. If Ohio State wins that game 24-21, and it's ugly, and Barrett throws a bunch of picks, and they somehow escape, I think Alabama gets in. If Ohio State comes out and beats them 38-10, and they look dominant, and it's kind of like a movie like 14, then I think they're going to edge out the Tide. So I think perception still matters. Remember, here's the one thing I've been telling people all week that's kind of weird with the playoffs. They have like 12 hours to separate the emotion from Saturday into those picks. I wouldn't be averse to them doing it like Sunday night or even Monday morning, because for me personally, it always takes like a day to separate yourself from the emotion of what you just watched to kind of breaking down what should happen.
Yeah, and I'm hoping for this. Believe it or not, we had an Auburn football fan in Albany, New York, call into the show yesterday, and I walked him through this process. I said, hey, if Georgia loses to Auburn and Ohio State beats Alabama, there is a chance, because the athletic director for Ohio State is on the College Football Playoff Committee board, that the Buckeyes with 2 losses could jump Alabama with 1 loss. And Ohio State last season is in a similar spot of Alabama last season, that they're a 1-loss team who didn't play in their conference championship game. If Alabama gets passed over by Ohio State, are we going to hear fans in the SEC start yelling from the rooftops that they got screwed?
I don't think so, because they'll already have a team in, and that kind of softens the blow. I think you'll hear Alabama fans scream.
Right.
And now that's where it gets interesting, is because you're dealing with, as I've kind of couched it all week, you're dealing with the 2 fan bases accustomed to getting what they want. More than any other programs in the country. Those are the 2. And that's what's going to make this argument so interesting at the end. I've kind of said what I think is going to happen is Alabama's going to win by a nose, because they're going to bring up that loss to Iowa. And I think that loss to Iowa should be a big strike against the Buckeyes. I'm a wins-loss guy. I want the regular season to matter. And if you go to Iowa and get beat by 31, I think that matters.
Bill Bender with us right now from the Sporting News. So what's the game of the week for you?
Well, I'm going down to Atlanta, and, I think that'll be fun to see Auburn and Georgia go at it in a game that should be heated. Georgia, I think, is going to play better this time around against Auburn, because they'll be feeding off that kind of home crowd, close to home crowd anyway, and it should be an excellent atmosphere there. The good part about that is I'll be able to get done, flip back, and kind of watch these evening games, because I think the ACC and the Big Ten, remember, the Ohio State and Wisconsin, they have the final say, essentially. That'll probably be the game that gets over last.
So when the dust settles and that game ends last, what do you see as the most likely top 4 on Sunday when the rankings come out for the final time?
I think Clemson will be 1. I think they'll win. They're just a big stage team. They know how to win on that stage, and they'll beat Miami. I think Oklahoma's going to beat TCU, though I think that's going to be fun. That'll be an interesting game. I like Auburn close against Georgia, and I like Ohio State. So at the end of it, I think, like I said, I think Alabama gets the 4 spot by a nose, unless Ohio State really puts one on Wisconsin, and then the emotion doesn't wear off and the Buckeyes get in. So what do you guys think? I've asked everybody that I've gone on this week, and it's kind of 50-50 between Alabama and Ohio State. I've
had Oklahoma get in. I had Georgia taking down Auburn, because it's so quick of a turnaround, and Auburn's coming off. They win off the rival. It's right there in Georgia. So I had Georgia getting in. I think Alabama, like you said, hangs on barely over Ohio State, but there's a little part of me that wants a little craziness to happen, and I think Clemson hangs on. So I'm rooting for a little crazy, though.
Where me over here, it's not that I'm a Michigan fan that I don't want Ohio State in. I swear, that's not the only reason.
But, yeah, I think that's the thing. Like, Ohio State, if they get in, we're going to look at them, and there's going to be a lot of pressure on them if they get in, because remember, some people felt like they didn't deserve to get in last year. Some people feel like they don't deserve to get in this year. And what if they go out and bomb against a Clemson or an Auburn? What kind of impact would that have on the Big Ten? Remember, the Big Ten, and I'm up here in Big Ten country, they've been shut out in the playoff each of the last 2 years.
How do you feel if you're a Wisconsin fan? All they talk about is Ohio State. Right. They actually are the undefeated team in the game, too. Sorry, Badger fans.
Well, I think Wisconsin's a good team. The only reason I have doubts in that game is I watched the Michigan game, and I've watched them quite a bit this year. I thought Michigan could have won that game if Brandon Peters doesn't get hurt.
Right.
I mean, it was in doubt, because I don't trust Alec Tornabrook in this situation. He turns the ball over too much. And I get that they have a big offensive line. I get that they can run the football. The one thing that I do really like about Wisconsin is their defense. It's really sound, doesn't miss tackles. has to compete with a big Ohio State offensive line too. So it's going to be close. I'm not saying Wisconsin can't win that game. I just trust Urban Meyer in this spot a little bit more.
That, and if you keep cameramen away from Barrett, you should be fine.
That was the most bizarre thing ever. I went to that game last week, and, again, Michigan hung, and with a quarterback, that might be a different game. And but he's 6-0 against Michigan. It should be the happiest time of the year. And the cameraman story unfolded. It was totally bizarre.
Bill Bender, the Sporting News, man, we appreciate you. Enjoy this weekend, and we look forward to talking to you during the playoffs.
Hey, sounds great. Thank you.